All right, what's going on? Before I start off with Golovkin, just want to let you know I went to the fight, had a great time. It's nowhere like Madison Square Garden. You know, you go to the Barclays, you go to MGM. None of these venues are the same. You know, when you get a full house of fans in Madison Square Garden, there's nothing like it. You know, there was a lot of people out. They showed huge respect for Roberto Duran. You know, and it's crazy because you had so many foreigners there to watch the fight. You know, you had people there from Lemieux, Golovkin, Chocolatito. You know, you had all these guys out there, not from here. You can just tell everybody was wearing the flags and everything. It was definitely a great time, but it was crazy, man. It was for the people to respect Duran like the way they did once they showed him on the screen. It was like a standing ovation and all that. Um, but Roman Gonzalez got a lot of love out there. A lot of love out there. I mean, I think out of all the fighters, I think people cheered for him the most. Okay, even more than Golovkin. All right. He did his thing against Brian Valoria. Um, Valoria came to fight. You know, Brian came to fight. It was not an easy fight, but you know, did you? It's funny watching the transition from the first round to the second, and then the second to the third, and the way how Roman Gonzalez fights. You know, the first round he was pretty much just keeping a high guard and just being defensive. And Valoria started off quick, but as each round went by, you know, Gonzalez gradually turned up the pressure. You know, and Brian Valoria would fought all the way to the end. He did his thing, but Roman Gonzalez is just too good. You know, he's too good. And right now, people are arguing whether or not he's top 10, top one, or number one pound for pound. Um, there's reasons why you can, obviously, there's reasons on why you can argue that he's not. Okay? And then you can make some good points on why he should be. Okay? He has an amazing record, you know, and everything. But, you know, I don't want to really get too much into that because at the end of the day, it's just a pound for pound list. It's your own opinion on who you think is the best. You know, there's no set in stone pound for pound list. I know for a long time, many people felt like Floyd was definitely number one, but as far as right now, I think it's a toss up. You know, I think you could make arguments on whether or not where's Ward placed, where's Roman Gonzalez placed right now. You know, where's Manny Pacquiao placed right now? You know, it's so many arguments to be made as far as pound for pound list. It's a mess. I thought about doing a video a couple of times, but really I just can't come up with a list. You know, I could come up with who do I think is the most talented boxers, but that's just my own opinion. You know, based on what I like as far as their style, and I'm gonna get into that later. But Gonzalez is you could definitely put him up there. You know, I'm not really sure if I would give him the number one spot, but you can argue that he deserves to be somewhere up there. Okay. Now let's talk about Golovkin. All right. I'm gonna speak on the fight a little bit, and then I'm gonna get into some other stuff because now that it's been a couple of days since the fight, I get to see all the critics, and everything. But as far as the fight was Golovkin did exactly what he had to do, and he did not play around with uh, Lemieux. Okay, it wasn't like the Willie Monroe where he clearly let Monroe fight him in that third and fourth round. All right, he made it a fight those rounds. This fight, he didn't play any games with Lemieux. He didn't take any chances. His jab was unstoppable. Lemieux just seemed like he couldn't get around it or get under it or get close to Golovkin, period. Okay, I mean hard, thudding jabs, round by round by round. Golovkin's jab is insane, okay? And he was moving and shooting the jab, and it was hard jabs. I mean, even when he was backing up, you know, when Lemieux tried to come forward and dash forward real quick, it seemed like Golovkin would just take a couple steps back and pop him with that jab, and his feet weren't even planted or nothing. You know, it just Golovkin is really. I think his footwork is so underrated. I always say that in these videos. I don't know why people say that he's just flat-footed or whatever. I think Golovkin's footwork what looked amazing in this fight. All right, I think he's very underrated as far as his movement is concerned. But whatever. But Lemieux looked bad, and Lemieux is a good fighter. He's a good fighter, and I think he can be. I think he's still arguably a top 5 middleweight. It's just he fought a guy that is levels beyond him as far as talent and technique, and he got schooled. He looked ridiculous in there with his wig flying around all over the place. I don't know if it was in his eye or not, but I wish he'd get rid of that haircut, man. That haircut's horrible. But I give Lemieux credit because he took a lot of big shots throughout the whole fight. And he stood up and he kept fighting. They had to stop the fight. They didn't have to stop the fight, but he wasn't doing anything but getting beat up, Maybe he could have lasted 12 rounds, but what's good at lasting 12 rounds just getting beat up? You know what I'm saying? Even if they want to stop it because they want to help Triple G's knockout ratio. The guy is getting beat up bad, and he's not connecting with anything, He's hurt. Why does the fight need to continue? Why? I mean, I see where people are going with it, but it's not, stop the fight, As far as the knockdown and the punch after the knockdown, Roy Jones' knockdown, disqualification against Montel Griffin was worse. Okay, not only did Roy hit him with the first shot, longer, even further past when Montel Griffin was down, but he hit him again. He hit him twice. And the Golovkin, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm there and I'm watching it. When he hit Lemieux while he was down, it happened so fast in real time. I'm not talking about slow-mo. In real time. It happened so fast. I didn't even know Lemieux was down yet until after Golovkin had hit him with that extra punch. That's how fast it happened when it actually happened. So I'm not mad at the ref using some discretion there and not disqualifying him, because we all been upset if Golovkin got disqualified. Even with Roy Jones, even when he did it, I was mad that they disqualified him for it because we all know that Roy Jones won the fight. But now he has this one L on his record because he hit this guy while he was down and he got disqualified for it. And you know what? It's wrong. It is wrong. But sometimes you're into it. You're trying to hurt a guy. You're trying to get him out of there. And you hit him that one extra time. It happens. It's a mistake. It is what it is. All right, so I'm glad the ref used discretion, didn't stop the fight. I mean, if anything, he could have taken a point or something, but whatever. Golovkin looked great. And I just don't feel... I feel like people are criticizing him more for winning the damn fight, because, I really don't get. I really don't get people. I really don't understand what people. I'm listening to what people say, right? And leading up to this fight, and still now, whenever Golovkin dominates somebody, he destroys somebody. People bring up Ward. People bring up Peter Quillen, and especially Ward. Peter Quillen, people throw his name out there, but the Andre Ward thing, people feel like he needs to step up against Andre Ward. He needs to move up in weight, The thing about Andre Ward is this. Why does he need to fight Andre Ward, okay, to give his resume some kind of credibility? All right. If you don't think that Golovkin is that good, if you think he's overrated or whatever, why would you want Andre Ward to fight him? What does it do for Andre Ward if he beats Gennady Golovkin? Like, if you have Ward at the number 2 spot, number 1, wherever you have him top, whatever, pound for pound, and you think that Golovkin needs to beat him, right? If you have Ward up in this pedestal so high. Why would you want Golovkin, a guy that you don't think has proven himself, why would you want Golovkin to fight that guy? Why would you want that? It doesn't make sense. Let's not talk about Andre Ward giving, Golovkin needing to fight him. Why does Ward need to fight him if he's so good, if he's number 2 pound for pound? Nobody really looks at it that way. Everybody says what Golovkin needs to do as far as him moving up and finding a real challenge, all right? Then another thing, moving up in weight. If he moves up in weight, that means he doesn't become the undisputed champ at 160. Okay? Historically, it would be best for him to be an undisputed champion because we don't have many of them. We don't have any of them now. And we haven't had any of them recently. So wouldn't it make sense for him to continue fighting everybody in the division? And it's going to be easier to make fights now because now he's been on pay-per-view. Peter Quillen's already saying that he wants to fight him now because the dude is all about his money, right? Peter Quillen is all about his money. So shouldn't this help Golovkin fight some of the guys that's been ducking him all this time? I don't think people remember what's really been going on the last few years. The war thing has been going on for a couple years now. But for the people that don't think Golovkin is good and he's that overrated and he needs to fight other guys in his division or whatever, for those people, right? Look at the way he's beating all of these guys. The guys he's fighting can't win a round against him. Now, he didn't fight everybody. He didn't fight Peter Quillen, okay? He didn't fight Andy Lee yet, Danny Jacobs, all right? All these fights, at any given time, he's willing to fight all of these guys, all right? Look at the way he's beating the guys he did fight. And these guys he fought has been in the ring with the fighters that people want to see him fight, okay? Let's start off with Sergio Martinez. When Sergio Martinez was the man at 160, Golovkin wanted to fight him. Okay, when I'm talking to the years when, Sergio Martinez fought Macklin and was Martin Murray and Julio Cesar Chavez, Golovkin was already in the mix. He was already in the discussion. Okay, back when he was fighting like Proxa and all those guys back then. Golovkin was already making noise. Okay, Sergio Martinez didn't want no parts of him back then. Darren Parker, all those guys, right? So he didn't want to fight him. And then you had Chavez Jr. at the same time who was avoided Sergio Martinez for a while, okay, who beat Andy Lee, a guy that is a champion now. But Julio Cesar Chavez didn't want no parts of Golovkin either. He went up in weight just to avoid Gennady Golovkin. He didn't want to fight Golovkin. Neither did Sergio Martinez. So Sergio Martinez loses to Cotto. He's retired. He's done. Julio Cesar Chavez goes up in weight. Okay, so that fight is not there anymore. And then you got all these new guys. Quillen, a guy that has been champion, gave up his belt. Must I remind you guys that he was the champion and gave up his belt? No, Golovkin don't even need to fight him right now because he doesn't hold a title. If he beats Danny Jacobs, he doesn't hold a title, not a real title at least, because he has a WBA baby junior WBA title. He's not the WBO champ no more. So if Golovkin says, I don't want to fight Quillen right now because he doesn't hold a title and I want to unify, then I don't blame him because Quillen said he's all about the money. He doesn't want to take any fights unless the money is right, So he'll rather fight guys like Konechny or whatever that guy he fought last year. And this guy he fought recently, forgot the other guy's name. But he did not take these fights, okay? He did not want to fight Golovkin. And even if he wants to fight him now, why does Golovkin need to face him? Why? He doesn't hold a title, And for the people that say Golovkin has to fight him, like, why does he have to fight Quillen? Like, what has Quillin done? The same arguments you make about Golovkin, you could say about Peter Quillin, but Golovkin did better. At least Golovkin is knocking everybody out and not losing rounds against him. What happened with Peter Quillin for Indom? He knocked him down like 5 times, right? But didn't Indom have Quillin on the ropes, hurt a couple of times in that fight? He had Quillin. He came back against Peter Quillin. And if Peter Quillin didn't knock him out at the end, the fight was pretty much there because Indom was winning more rounds. But when Indom gets in there with David Lemieux, the guy that Golovkin just made look like crap, what's the name? Lemieux destroyed Indom. Knocked him down like 5 times. Was winning the fight, the whole fight. But Golovkin got to get in there with Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin, the same guy that Gabe Rosado had looking all crazy against the ropes. Quillin lucky Gabe Rosado got a messed up eye because that fight was going in Gabe Rosado's favor by the end of the later rounds. He had Peter Quillin hurt against the ropes. Then Andy Lee, another fighter that a good fighter, knocked Quillin down, had him in trouble too. Won the second half of their fight completely. But Golovkin got to fight him? Like, yo, I don't get what you guys are saying. Like, I never understand what you guys are saying. Just admit. Say on camera before you, or whatever it is, because it's not just YouTube. It's really not just YouTube. Because now I'm seeing trainers, fighters. I'm even seeing people that's well respected in the game saying crazy nonsense, man. And it's like, yo, do you guys remember yesterday? Like what happened yesterday and these other fights? Peter Quillin is most people ain't like people saying Peter Quillin got to go up and wait to fight Andre Ward. You never heard that. Have anybody ever said that? No. Has anybody says Floyd Mayweather should go up and wait to fight Peter Quillin? No. Why does he need to fight? That's just what I'm trying to say. Like nobody. Every argument you could make about Golovkin, you could say about everybody else. But at least Golovkin is looking impressive against the guys that he's fighting. He destroys Martin Murray. But what happened with Martin Murray was in there with Felix Sturm and Sergio Martinez. He knocked Sergio Martinez down, have him looking all crazy in the ring. A lot of people think he beat Sergio Martinez. But once he get in there with Golovkin, it's nothing. Easy work. Daniel Gill, same thing. Easy work when he get in the ring with him. Rubio, easy work. David Lemieux, he destroys David Lemieux, but he gets in there with Golovkin, easy work. Easy work again. Curtis Stevens, I don't have to sit here and talk about what he did. All these fighters that Golovkin beat, they look good until they fought Golovkin. And it's not even like, and I said this too on camera, like the middleweight division isn't the strongest division. But at the same time, it's like, what division is great? Besides the welterweight division, at that time when Marquez, Floyd, Pacquiao, Tim Bradley, you had 4 top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in one division. Arguably, 4 of them. Top 10 caliber pound-for-pound guys. Even if you didn't have them in there, they're like at least close on most people's list. But you have divisions. Every other division, you usually have one guy, like the super middleweight division, which was Andre Ward. I mean, Froch is up there too, and Froch is a top 10 pound for pound. You can squeeze him in there when he was at his best. Beating Boutte, beating Groves. You can add Froch in the list. But Ward dominated that division because he beat Froch already. There was this one guy in every division, Chocolatito. You say the same thing about him. He didn't fight everybody, but we all know that this one guy that sets himself apart from every other division. I mean, everybody else in the division. And Golovkin is that guy. Doesn't mean he needs to move up because of that. He doesn't need to move up. He should make history, unify the titles. Hopefully he could get, be undisputed because he's already old, Hopefully he can do that or you want him to be like Adrian Broner, going up the weight, fighting the weakest champion, and then fighting guys like Ashley deal pain and stuff after he wins the title. You want him to be like Broner and go up and wait and fight Arthur Abraham or what's his name or Badu Jack? You know, nobody's checking for that fight. You know, like he can easily go and do that. No, I'd rather see him win all of the titles in the division and then go from there. You know, which way you criticize this guy, you could say the same thing about an opponent or another fighter that you praise. Whatever you say about Golovkin, you could say the same thing about another fighter you praise. You could say the same thing about whoever. I mean, Andre Ward, he did his thing. I understand that. Andre Ward is my guy, and he's probably the only guy that I think can beat Golovkin, and I'm not even sure about it no more. I'm keeping it real. I'm not even sure because Golovkin hit so damn hard. I don't even know if Ward can get hit by a guy like that and actually not get hurt, you know? But Andre Ward, you know, I know what he did. I know he beat Fraj. I know he beat Chad Dawson, okay? I know he's beaten some really, really good fighters. It's just that lately he hasn't done it. He hasn't been doing it. And you can say the same about him. Why don't he go up to 175 and fight Kovalev? He could have done that a couple years ago when people already felt that he was the best at 168. Or he should have stayed at the weight in this unified and became an undisputed champion. He still wasn't undisputed all that time. And now he's going up to 175 and he never was undisputed. You know? So now he's moving up to fight Kovalev, but people were saying that for years. If you're going to say that about Golovkin, you might as well say that about Ward. Why don't you go up and fight Kovalev then? And people want him to fight Golovkin. People wanted Golovkin to move up to fight. And I know he said he'll go up and fight Fraj. I understand that completely. It's a big fight. It would be a big fight. And he said he would move up and fight him. But not Andre Ward. Well, because Andre Ward is clearly the harder fighter. Golovkin would have beat Carl Froch. I know. You guys don't even have to admit it. Because when Golovkin said he'll go up and fight Froch, and they were entertaining that fight before Froch retired, you guys remember my video, all of you were mad. Why were you mad? You were mad, you was upset because you knew that Golovkin would beat Carl Froch. If you thought that was a tough fight for Golovkin, and you thought he would lose that fight, you wouldn't have been mad. You would have been cool with that fight. See how things work? Ward is obviously not an easy fight. It's obviously not going to be an easy fight. And even though Golovkin probably should take the fight, I will always say that if he has an opportunity to fight Andre Ward, he should. Because you beat Andre Ward, you're number one pound for pound, no debating. It's no debating. If he beat Andre Ward tomorrow, who am I going to say is pound for pound? Who? So, you guys got to remember, like, you know, with the arguments you're making here, you know, I think a lot of people are influenced by the fans, the fanboys, not the fans. You cannot let fanboys, Golovkin fanboys, because they're out there, the hardcore Golovkin fanboys, you cannot let them be a distraction on what's really going on here. We got a special fighter here. This fighter is for real. You have some really good middleweight fighters, but you have Golovkin. You know, you have some really good super middleweight fighters. Then you have Ward. You know, and James Agel is starting to look like that guy. You know, and I would have loved to see Ward fight that guy, believe it or not, at 168. You know, because by the time Ward, when he ran through the tournament, none of these guys were there. You know, you didn't have Badu Jack, you didn't have what's his name, James Agel. You know, Froch is retired. You know, all these other guys are not really as relevant right now. But anyway, you know, I think people are getting a little bit. The problem is with Golovkin, and I think this is what the issue is with all these opinions that we're hearing and these critics. There's a lot of fans that distract you from what's really going on. You guys, you go online, you seeing what these fans are saying. All right, you're getting annoyed by it because they're comparing him to Marvin Hagler and stuff. And Marvin Hagler, they asked Lennox Lewis. I saw that on ES News or something. They asked Lennox Lewis, and he shut that down real quick. Like, listen, don't even go there with that. And then they asked about Bernard Hopkins. I mean, it's very easy to get pissed off because the fans are out here comparing him to Marvin Hagler. Why get upset about it? Who cares? You can't let that discourage you and make you hate a guy because of some stupid fan. Some crazy fan out there is whatever fighters that's out there. Floyd got stupid fans. Manny Pacquiao got stupid fans. Golovkin, Ward, everybody got stupid fans. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't let that piss you off to a point where it makes you start hating a fighter. Now, if you don't like Golovkin, because of race, that might be an issue. I've heard people that I can tell, like, yeah, you just don't like him because, you just think he's just some regular white boy beating up people. I could tell. I could tell when somebody don't like Golovkin because of his style. People say, oh, he gets hits a little too much for me. Why? Because he's not shoulder rolling. He's not fighting like Floyd and Andre Ward. You don't like him. I can appreciate Golovkin and then go and watch Andre Ward and appreciate that fight and enjoy that fight just as much because I appreciate talent, which whatever way you choose to fight, I love all the styles. If you're good at what you do, if you're a brawler, I'm going to like that too. Whatever it is. I could sit back and watch a Brandon Rios fight. I think that Brandon Rios fight with Tim Bradley coming up is tough because Brandon Rios is a tough fighter when he's on his A game. He doesn't fight like Golovkin. He doesn't fight like Floyd. But I can appreciate and I like what he do. Like I like his work. I like Probotnikov's work when he was on his A game. And I think that's another problem. I think it has to do with fanboys making people hate fighters, racism. I think it has to do with styles. Golovkin doesn't fight like your favorite fighter, so you don't like him because of what he does is not what you like. Just say it then. Just say I don't. I say it all the time. If I don't like a fighter, I just say I don't really like the way I don't like what he does in there. That Felix Diaz kid before this fight, I said with Lamont Peterson, I said I really don't like what Felix Diaz does. I think he looks a little too reckless and wild for me. I didn't watch the whole Lamont Peterson fight, but I saw the end of it. I saw the last couple of rounds, and I heard that Diaz should have won the fight. And I said it already. Like, listen, I don't really like the way he fights. I don't know how he looked against Lamont Peterson, but his fights before that, I was like, I don't really know. I think Peterson's gonna win this one. But I knew it was gonna be a rough physical fight because I seen him fight like a wild man. I didn't like it though. But anyway, I just I don't want to keep going on and on about it. I really believe. I'm just gonna end it since I know this is a long video. I'm gonna end up with saying I think Golovkin is a special fighter, right? I don't think anyone in the middleweight division stands a chance against him. Okay. I do want to see the Peter Quinlan fight if he wants to fight him. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I'm sure he's a little bit more interested now because Golovkin is a pay-per-view fighter now officially. I don't know how the numbers are gonna do, but Peter Quinlan, I would like to see that fight. Or whoever wins between Quinlan and Jacobs. Honestly, I don't think either one of them stand a chance. Okay, Andy Lee, I really don't think he stands a chance. I don't really think Eubank or Saunders or some of the other guys that's in middleweight division stands a chance against Gennady Golovkin. I really don't. I think he can knock all of them out. And unless he pops on negative or fails a drug test or something like that, I can't see how you can say he's not that good. I mean, we have eyes. Are you watching what I'm watching? The way that he's beating guys doesn't matter if he didn't get in the ring with certain middleweights. Are you watching what I'm watching? because when he was in there with the fighters that gave the other top fighters in the division problems, he destroyed them. You know, so I don't know what's up with David Lemieux because I honestly would like David Lemieux to like fight the other top fighters as well. But as far as it's clear that Golovkin is the best in the division to me, and I would like him to try to be undisputed. I think he needs to do that. Use his his well, I guess he's an A side type of fighter now, so maybe he should try to get some of these other guys and pay these guys to want to get in the ring with him, for he can, and he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have to fight Peter Quinlan, but I'm sure, you know, um, he will be getting that WBC title, and right after that, he should go whoever has the WBO, whether it's Lee or whether it's Saunders or whatever. Try to get them in a fight, and if they don't want to fight them, let them relinquish their title like Peter Quillen, Kid Chocolate did. Kid Chocolate. All right, y'all. I'm out, man.